Welcome to For the Record, an unfiltered view on current trends and timeless advice for surviving in the aesthetics industry. Whether you're an injector, practice owner, sales rep, or marketer, it's time to set the record straight. Each week we cut through the chaos and showcase diverse perspectives and winning ideas from the best minds in the industry. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Hall, Chief Growth Officer at Aesthetic Record. Now, let's get started on this week's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of For the Record. Today we are in studio in Dallas, and I have with us the man, the myth, the legend. He is an incredible speaker, trainer, educator on one of his careers. Other career, he's also the VP of Talent Development at SkinSpirit. Been there for 10 full years, a whole decade, and opening up locations all across the country. He's also an author of an incredible book that will move you. You have to go get it on Amazon. He is a dear friend, a brilliant injector, a cadaver anatomy expert, a bow tie wearing fashionista, and really all the things. He's here with us today for our season finale. One of the best in the industry, maybe that's ever been around in the industry. Our friend, Dr. George Baxter-Holder.
Oh my, if I even lived up to half of all of that, Tiffany, oh my gosh. So I want to tell a little story about Tiffany though, because I was at ISPAN, and I was a trainer for Galderma, and Tiffany took a chance on me. You took a chance on me, and you put me on podium, and you put me in the Gen Now faculty, and that is really where my launch happened in the aesthetic training, key thought leader world, and I just really want to thank you for that.
Well, you were very welcome, and I knew you were going to be awesome. And I think we kind of cut our teeth when we were coming up in the industry, like it was all that long ago. It really was a decade. I feel like it was, 10 years ago.
It was a while ago.
We weren't putting nurses on podium, and it was always such an issue for me of, you guys are out in the trenches every day. You're injecting full time. You're brilliant injectors, but also you know how to educate in a way that makes sense to the masses. You're not using crazy words and big terms. You know how to kind of adjust it to who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And it's like, how come none of you were on podium? It just always shocked me. I think Gen Now was kind of our chance to say, we have this awesome group of people. Let's put them in a place to make an impact. And you guys have all done, I feel like OG-wise, you, Connie, there was like this, Julie Bass-Kaplan, this group that has just really flourished and made the industry flourish. And
right. It's so funny. I tell people that I'm like the nurse whisperer. Like I'll translate, I'll translate Dr. Cirque or Dr. Weiner at the cadaver lab into like what we really hear.
Like ferrets in a hot tub, or the things I've heard you say, but you get the picture of what you're like, okay, I can see that happening. I get it, I understand it. And we need that. I think oftentimes people get really fancy language and they try to sound fancy, and it doesn't resonate. And then they leave a training saying, I heard this amazing speaker, but I have no idea what the hell he said.
Like when I say nose hole or chin bone, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep, exactly. But you've had a very interesting career. So for those of you who don't know, Dr. George has a doctorate from Duke, which is like, woohoo, amazing. MBA from LSU, nurse practitioner, tons of other acronyms in the back of your name for CANS, for all the different things that you've done. Really well educated. And you're here with us, in the aesthetics industry. How did you get here? Because you've had a colorful history.
I have had a colorful history. And, it's so funny, and I wrote about this in my book as well. And as I look back on my life, with all of the hills and valleys, what I see is a key, with the hills and valleys of a key. And without the right hills and valleys, the key doesn't turn.
Yep, that's true. And
so I really see that my life has been like a really intentional straight line. But I've been to prison. A lot of people don't know that for selling drugs, and I'm really open about it. I'm an open book, literally.
And I gotta tell you, sex, drugs, food, and God. In the wrong order.
It's drugs, food, sex, and God is the name of the book. Yeah, drugs came first in that story.
Well, and I met you, and then I thought, I just love this guy. And then I read that book, and I thought, this can't be the same person. Like, this cannot be the same person. Yeah. But then as I learned more about you and knew you more, it's like, it is so the same person. Like kind of that triumphant spirit, and as things come around, it's like, you know what? I'll figure it out. I'll get it done. Yeah. I think you kind of applied, it's almost like your key analogy. You've applied the same kind of approach to all the things that have happened to you. It just looks different.
Yeah, it's about resilience, and it's about perseverance. It's really about when things get tough, when things get hard at SkinSpirit, like I need to persevere in the same way that I persevered before. Not take, for anyone that knows me, I don't take no for an answer. So, to really like continue to pursue the right way to do things, and that is, that's been my mantra. Through those dark period in my 20s and early 30s, and then coming out of that period and going to nursing school, which was the best thing that ever happened to me. That was God tapping me on the shoulder and saying, "This is what you're supposed to do." And then I worked in the emergency room, and then I wanted to be a superhero, so I went into cardiology, which is a big mistake. And from there, this is where it happened, right? I hated cardiology so much, and I wasn't very fond of cardiologists. I'm sorry if you're a cardiologist. But what happened is I called the recruiter at Swedish Medical Center up in Washington, and I said, "Get me out of here. Do something, anything. I'll do anything." And he looks at me and he goes, "Well, the only thing I have is a bariatric clinic." And I went, "Okay."
I forgot you did bariatrics.
Yeah, so I did bariatric. I was on the non-surgical side of bariatrics. So, and this is where it all happened because Lap Band was owned by Allergan. And we were putting lap bands in people right and left. That was just the early days of bariatric surgery. And the lap band rep, Bree, brought the Allergan rep, Lisa, in to meet me. And Lisa got me set up. And, it's like my patients were losing weight fast and their face was losing weight because, we lose weight everywhere. We don't get a program, just take it out of my butt, The weight goes.
I wish we could.
Flabby arms, and the weight goes everywhere, right? So, then I did a training. Lovely Laban, who will always remain the first person to ever watch me put a needle in someone's face. And I did a training with AAI, with Aesthetic Advancements, and I injected my manager at the time from the bariatric clinic, and right before I injected her Proceris, I tapped her forehead, and then I went in with the needle, like I still do today.
Yeah.
And Lovely says, "How long have you been doing this?" And I said, "You just watched my very first Botox injection," and and she goes, "You're going to be a natural."
A star was born.
And that was it. That was how I launched into it. I was doing facial rejuvenation after extreme weight loss with Juvederm Ultra and Ultra Plus without lidocaine. So that's all.
Without lidocaine.
Without lidocaine.
But I think one of the things about you, as a lesson to those who are newer in the industry, is your personality has been a huge part of your success. You being a great injector is like what you have to have, period. To be on podium, you need to be a great injector, which I think we all can say that right now. There are some people who may not be great injectors on podium, but because you have this like really big personality, you don't take no for an answer. You are in people's faces with like, you got to get this done. You're not controversial, but you're insistent on what you believe in. I think it makes you go further. And I think people who are looking at this saying, how do I get on podium? How do I become the next George? You got to kind of have the same magic. You got to have that there's a spark or there's a piece of magic there that you can't really teach. You can't really quantify it. But if you don't have that, it's hard to captivate an audience. But when you get it, they want you on every podium. And they want you on every podium everywhere. You're like, stop, I can't do anymore.
It's not a right. It's not a right to be on podium. You have to earn it. Like if you want to be on podium, do your work, do your due diligence, watch, learn, call me up, find out how I did it, like study, public speaking doesn't happen naturally for most people. Most people hate public speaking. And I used to hate public speaking, but I practiced and I practiced and I practiced in front of cameras and mirrors. And I practiced, I have a dear friend, John Livesey, who teaches salespeople how to tell stories. And now he works for Gensler Architects, teaching architects how to tell stories to land contracts. It's crazy. But he taught me just some really basic things about the thirds of an audience, and I apply that all the time. Like it's just you have to earn everything you get in life. It's not. I think we've got generations, and I hate to be this controversial. I'm not controversial, George, for the sake of being controversial, but I think we have generations. I'm just going to say it. I think we have generations right now that have an expectation of a right of a great job with perfect hours and high income, and I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm getting on a plane and I'm have a Birkin bag and no, all of those people that you mentioned earlier in the show, all those people earned it. Mm-hmm. I have earned it, and we've paved the way for everyone else to succeed in this industry. Be respectful of that. That's the other thing. It's like, honor your mentors. Like, let them know your mentors. Connie hates it when I tell her, but Connie is my mentor. Like, I love I'm going to get teary-eyed talking about it. Like, I love these people. Like, these people taught me. They helped make me who I am today. And I honor that. Haley and Dawn and Connie and Hermine and Jill Jones and Lovely. It's just and MK Maloney, who I just love. She just had a huge
Bless
loss
her right now. But,
yeah.
Well, and I think looking at Connie, like even cans, there was no cans. Haley and Connie, that whole group, Dawn,
they invented it. They were the first
class. There was no standard.
Yeah.
There was no test. And they spent time. I remember talking to Connie, and it was like on year 3 of the certification. They spent tons of their own time, their own effort, put their practices in peril. I'm sure many days to go do this instead.
Yeah.
To be able to provide to the whole industry this level setter, if you want to, this calibration, and people forget about that a human behind the testing had to give up time, energy, and their own livelihood to go do that thing. And it makes me, I'm an old soul, George, as you probably know. It makes me crazy because I look at that, even with aesthetic necks, people will apply, they'll give us their abstract, and they'll demand all this money. They'll demand all these things. And I'm like, well, where have you spoken before? Well, this is my first time. Mm-hmm. Like, I have people on podium who are like true experts, who are phenomenal at what they do, and who have been around for a long time because they respect the fact that this is how things work, and that you have to earn it. Right. And I'm often I'm shooketh, as they say, that they ask for these things. I'm like, when you've earned the right to ask me for that, we can entertain the conversation. But I can't give you, a gazillion dollars for your very first podium in front of 1,000 people. It just wouldn't be smart for me. Like, as a business, it wouldn't be smart. But for you, like, are you freaking insane? Yeah. It does shock me. It baffles me that we all had to cut our teeth, and we've been in it for a long time. You far longer than me, but it was not this way 10 years ago. It was like you were trying to trailblaze with your machete out there
right?
in the weeds.
Right. And you know where I met all these people? The International Society of Plastic and Aesthetic Nurses, ISPAN. It wasn't called ISPAN then; it was ASPSN.
Yes,
it
some other very long acronym.
But now ISPAN, that's our professional organization. If you're a PA out there, please come and be a voice. Like, I really want us to have an aesthetic organization that's just aesthetic injectors.
That's inclusive.
That's inclusive of everybody. That's not exclusive of core and this and that, and you have to have your physician to sign because we live in a patriarchal society that demands that. I was in Washington State. I didn't have a medical director. I didn't need a medical director in Washington State. There's some states like that, and and just will you please sign for me because I need this. It's so crazy.
Well, and the fact that it's different per state.
If we had this professional organization that you and I both dream about, you know what we could have? Standards and lobbyists, and have a standard for this profession that people had to have certain basic fundamental training, like cadaver training. Cadaver training is vitally important. Before cadavers, you are sticking a needle in blind. You have no idea what's under the skin. And I see a lot of people go to cadaver labs and then they become fearful of what they're doing. And the thing about it is having that knowledge. Gosh, Jonathan Sykes was my first cadaver lab I went to, and Julie Bass-Kaplan and Hermine were there with Palette, and I learned so much, and I continue to, and now I've done, I've probably done over almost 100 cadaver labs in the past 4 years.
Well, because you're the primary faculty, right, for the AMSPA. I know it's not AMSPA particularly, but.
Well, AMSPA owns Academy for Injection Anatomy, and Dr. Surik has just done such a phenomenal job bringing injection anatomy to the forefront.
It's different.
It's different.
It's way different
than layered anatomy, and and I love layered anatomy. It's beautiful. I'm actually Sachin Tridarani and I are doing a cadaver lab this weekend here in Dallas.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in Dallas, and anytime you can look at that anatomy and get an understanding of what's under the skin for that specimen, because
Yes, that's the key.
That's the key. Because the one thing about anatomy that I know is there's very few things that aren't variable. You know, the antegonial notch and the facial artery, that's not variable.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to, even on a person, feel it, right, see it. But everything else is like kind of it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, totally.
And you can have good best practices and then guide rails, but at the end of the day, you also have to kind of know what you're mapping and how it's working. And I think the cadaver lab, until you see it, until you peel those layers back, you have no idea. You can see a textbook, you can even see it on a virtual training, but until you see it in 3D in front of you, it just isn't the same thing.
And touch it.
Yeah, and touch it and inject it and see what plane you think you're in, but what plane you're actually in.
Yeah.
I think it's that aha moment that kind of we call it the oh shit number here. Like call the oh shit number of like, oh my gosh. But I think what you're saying is accurate. And I think the difference in our industry compared to, like, let's say you mentioned cardiology, is in aesthetics, a PA, a nurse, or a physician all have the same level playing field. You don't do anything differently because you're a physician. And, you know, injecting Restylane. You don't do some other way. Like, you know, in cardiology, if you're the nurse versus the doctor, you have different capabilities, different scopes of practice or whatever. Here, it's like we're all, I say we as if I'm one of them, it's all the same. And so to be able to say we have a true inclusive organization where everyone who does this thing can all be together and say, this is how we're going to operate our practices, our safety, our compliance, it's actually doable here. Yeah. Nowhere else, but we could do it here.
But actually, Tiffany, in Texas, you could be an injector.
That's true. That's why I was laughing. So can your garbage man.
Yeah. So, you know, that brings a whole nother layer to all of this. And like, who's going to do your injections? Mm-hmm. Like, do you know the person that's doing your injections? Do you know how they've been trained? Do you know where they've gotten training? Do you know if they've been to a cadaver lab? Do you know what kind of license they have? And I've rarely had anybody ask me. Well, I've rarely had anybody ask me because I credential myself when I meet them.
and your name is on, we know who you are. But I do think there's an onus on the patient side that we have to ask. Mm-hmm. We're not asking. And if you have an organization, like I think about the Pediatric Society, you know, American Pediatric Association, when I had a baby at home, I would look up all the APA requirements and guidelines because I didn't know. I was a brand new mom, and it helped me to understand what to expect. We don't have that here. We don't have a place for patients to go to say, no matter where I go in the country, aesthetics as a discipline should operate like this. And so until we all decide that we're going to put those things out there, patients, we can't expect them to just know that it's different in Texas than it is in New Jersey and it is in Minnesota. There isn't a standard from state to state. We have to build it and then say, okay, patients, now it's your job to be informed. We've given you what you need. Go be informed. But we can't expect them to know if we've not given them what they need to know.
Yeah. And we have to take personal responsibility for that. Like we have to accept.
For sure.
You know, make the guidelines, accept the guidelines, and then operate within them. But unfortunately, the horse left the barn 20 years ago.
And how do we do that? How do we get a group of people who will say, as you know, community over competition, but is that real? We're still on the fence if it's real or not. How do we get all of us, industry, meaning us as the industry, and injectors and owners and PE firms, everybody else to say, yes, we will all subscribe to this being the way that we're going to do it?
Well, you know, unfortunately, you know, I hate to say this, but unfortunately, we're going to have to turn to the legislatures.
I agree.
You know,
force it on
us. It's got to be an accepted set from the largest group we can find, and then, you know, myself to go and lobby to those legislatures, not all these other organizations that may or may not have an agenda, but me as an injector, or ISPAN as an injector organization, or ASPS, or, you know, all these organizations, and put all of the agendas aside to have legislatures accept a certain standard and then go from there.
If you think about the medical board, you know, AMA, every state has its own medical board, but there is an AMA at the top saying this is how licensing works. This is how medicine works. It's no different here. We can have ISPAN. We can have all of us doing all these, you know, you can have ASPS, you can have AS or ASAPs, but then someone at the top has to still say this is the standard. Now, how you choose to do things in your own societies and make things a little bit different here and there, you know, like nuanced things, but the actual rules at the top of the food, you know, the pyramid are the same.
Right.
We do it in medicine and other parts. Why can't we do it here? It does baffle me that we, even like the health department coming in Texas, we have different rules.
Right.
Can you have a sink in the room or not have a sink? Can you have people, estheticians or not estheticians? Like all these things we should know. To me, I go for the most, not egregious, but the most extreme rules. It's like where I would like to start. You know, like whatever I have to do to make sure I'm safe in any state, and then work backward. But I think we start the other direction. We say, what's the least thing we have to do here to get this thing open?
You know, the basic fundamentals. It's just like, what's at the foundation? The foundation is patient safety. Yeah. You know, I mean, patient outcomes are important. They are. I don't diminish that, but patient safety is of the utmost importance. That's where the medicine that we're practicing can go wrong, is in patient safety.
Well, and you guys have how many clinics with SkinSpirit?
SkinSpirit, no, we have 49. I think we might have 50. I can't remember whether it opened yesterday or not. It opens Paradise Valley in the Phoenix area. Opens on the 14th of November, and then we have 50.
So 50 clinics times, providers within each clinic. A lot of humans are depending on people like you at the top of the pyramid there to help.
Currently 176 medical providers.
And you got to turn that ship, right? It's like the Titanic. So if you launch GLP-1s, if you launch X's, whatever you're launching, it has to go through a pretty extreme, I'm sure, both desire to even launch it or not launch it, but then training and getting people up to speed on it. How do you do that? I mean, I think about people in med spa with one other injector struggle. How do you do it with 100, 50, 60, 200? So at some point you'll have 500. How do you do it with that scale?
It's really funny. Right before I walked in here, I was on a meeting talking about our pipeline and how to bring this, thing in and how to train this thing to all of these people. And it's no small task. Like if you have a med spa with, 3 providers and a front desk person and a clinic manager, and you want to bring something in new, the scale of that is fairly easy. Mm-hmm. But when you have 50 clinics and 176 providers, and then the estheticians are another 176, things need to be done mindfully and thoughtfully, and we're not slow about it, which is the great thing about SkinSpirit.
And also the crazy thing that it's not slow.
We are like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a corporate med spa. Okay. Yes, that is true. We are a corporation, but we don't function like the Amazons of the world, or like, oh, this form needs to be filled out. We don't have that. We still have, we have our medical leadership is myself and Kara Dove and Sachin Shridharani, and Dr. Dean Visness is our founding medical director. And that's where the medical decisions get made. And then they get funneled through the business decision. And the business and medicine work synergistically to make these decisions. And if it makes sense, we do it. And if it doesn't make sense medically, or it doesn't make sense business-wise, we don't. And, and then it's about communication. So that's the hardest part. Like I say this all the time, the problem and the solution is communication.
And even here in every business, right? That's business, like the normal struggle.
Yeah.
But I love that you mentioned that medical and business are different. I think one of the things that I see with the conference for sure, because it comes up a lot, people get so excited at a booth of like a big discount or the device is on sale for half off by buy it today. And I stop and think, you're letting your medical opinion of this and your business opinion of this intermingle in a way that might not be good for your clinic. Because if medically it's not a great choice, or for the population or the demographic, it's like buying lasers in Florida. It's like, well, the sun's out 24/7. Like we probably shouldn't have this device in Florida. Versus how can I sell it, the business plan, the ROI on it, can we train on it, the profitability. They are very different things. Yeah. And it's like, if you think medically it's a great idea, sure, but business-wise it doesn't make sense, we don't do it. Or even vice versa. Like, business-wise it's going to be awesome. You're like, well, we're going to burn everyone's face off and it's not going to be a good deal. Yeah. Then the answer is also no. But I think sometimes you need to separate church and state so that you get a true reason why a reason to believe bringing it in.
And the thing that I love about our business leadership, Lynn Hubline, brilliant woman. I mean, we both agree with that. She's a founder. She and Kara and Dr. Visness founded SkinSpirit 21 years ago.
That is so shocking.
Before the medical spa industry was an industry.
Yeah, it was a thing back then.
And she understands medicine and science so well that she really defers, for years she's deferred to Kara and Dr. V, and now to the medical leadership team to say, okay, so if it doesn't make medical sense, it doesn't make business sense. Not this makes business sense, make it make medical sense. Because there's a lot of fads out there. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of Kendall Jenners and Kardashians out there that are promoting things that, look, they're not okay. Maybe it does something. Is it really what you want in your medical spa? Medical spa, not your med spa. Yeah. If you have a medi spa or a med spa or a That's something different. That's in a strip mall somewhere and anybody can do it, right? But if you have a medical spa, you have something different than that. And
I like the word medical aesthetic clinic. I know it's a mouthful, but
it's
I feel
a
like
medical aesthetic clinic.
I feel like clinic just sounds like it's truly medicine. And,
Yeah.
you know, and we all say if this is going to be a medical specialty, then make it medical.
Yeah,
Like if you want to
absolutely.
be it, then go be
Absolutely.
it. But you got to like go all in. Yeah. But I think the difference too, I look at SkinSpirit and think there's 50 of you, which is like, holy crap. It has to have staying power. It can't be a fad. It's too hard to get it done to like be a fad.
Right.
But also the quality control. Just like in a single med spa, if it's only, you know, I say med spa, if it's only me, and I have 3 providers, I've got to be very cognizant of what they're doing in the room because the brand is my brand.
Right.
There's 50 clinics out there all across the country. Your QA process has to, I'm sure, be incredible. Like if one person's not doing well, it could impact all 49 other ones. Like it's a huge deal. How do you go through and regulate that and make sure that someone somewhere is saying, did George do great? Is he having adverse event issues? Do we need to snatch him up and get him out of there and go back to training? Who kind of regulates that? Because it's such a huge risk.
It's hard. It's hard. But it starts with recruiting, you know, and for the past 5 years now, I've been head of recruiting for SkinSpirit, and it's been phenomenal. It's been like, I didn't realize that it was my life calling. I never, when I call up a friend and I'm like, oh my God, I've got an idea for you to come and be the lead provider here. And, you know, so it comes from recruiting the right people and recruiting the right people, you know, that's a challenge in and of itself. You have to listen. Because in an interview, people can say anything they want, but the right people are humble and they're hungry to build and they're excited to be part of a team. So the words that they use have to match that. And then, you know, we have a fantastic onboarding process. We have wonderful policies and procedures. You know, can they be better? We're always in a continual state of improvement. And so it's another thing I love about us is we're not afraid of, you know, taking feedback and turning it around. You would be amazed at how few, in comparison, QAs and AEs we have at SkinSpirit.
But I'm not, because you guys do really incredible onboarding.
Yeah, I am just baffled by it. Sometimes I'm like, that's it? That's all we have this week? You know, and it's just, brow ptosis or, you know, it's like,
and that's probably just a number. That's just a law of averages too. You inject that many faces in a week, you're going to have, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah. And they all come through me and our medical team, you know, so it's not like I don't see them. I see all of them. So I'm really proud. I'm really proud of this company.
Well, and I think what you guys do that it was always in the beginning so shocking to me because I couldn't understand it is you have a lot of like superstar injectors at SkinSpirit. You know, a lot of these corporations have kind of the wallflowers that show up. They don't have a name, and so they go work for a company with a big name to kind of shadow that, you know. But you guys have like big people who work there who have really big names who do great work, and it's almost like it's entrepreneurial. So it's this big corporation.
That's one of my favorite words. I love that word.
It's kind of like you're running your own little business. Obviously within the confines of what SkinSpirit allows, but it's like they're running their own little business, and so they feel a desire or an ownness to make it successful. It's like, my name is on this just as much as it is SkinSpirit. I want it to be successful, and I think you've really encouraged that in SkinSpirit, which I think is why you've been able to grow so quickly. And I say quickly, but 20 years, that many locations, it's actually in the last probably 7 or 8 years, you guys have like, whoa, crazy.
Yeah.
But there is a part of it that it's like you let them be great. You don't make them stay in the shadow. You don't say, don't get too big, don't be a trainer. It's like, go be great, because the greater you are, the greater we become.
Yeah.
That's not normal, George. So how do you guys facilitate that and make them want to stay there? Because I think every injector who's listening, who owns a business, is saying, if I make them be great, they'll leave me. Well, but what if they're not great and they stay there and they wreck your life? Like, how do you make them want to stay?
Well, here's the thing. If somebody wants to be a business owner of their own, 24/7, 365, eat, sleep, dream, hire, fire, order, go do that.
Bless your heart. Don't do it.
SkinSpirit is not the place for you if that's what you want. If you want to be by yourself and you want to do that, or if you want to be a business owner, then do that. Please do that. Live your dream. But if you're an entrepreneur, and I love that because I first heard that word in my master's program, and I went, "That's me." That is me. I'm an entrepreneur. I have an entrepreneur heart. I have an entrepreneur spirit, and I want to take risks with somebody else's money.
Yep. Let somebody else pay the bill and the ship goes down.
I want to innovate, and I love innovation. And Lynn, I report right to Lynn Hublein, and Lynn and I talk about this. I love to innovate and to bring new ideas to life. But ultimately, maybe I'm chicken shit. I don't want to be in my own business. I had my own business. I had Seattle Youthful in Seattle. It was like in my house. And I was doing okay. But it was never gonna go to the level that it is today, that I am today.
And you got to find that person. And I think looking at SkinSpirit and what you do right now, you could never get the chance to do the job you're doing if you owned your own location.
No way.
I mean, people who want to really do impactful, and I mean this in the most respectful way, if you want to have an impact on the whole industry, you cannot be a solo owner in a small town somewhere injecting 10 people a day. It's too hard to scale that. You have to go do something that's a bit bigger or find ways to be trainers, be on stage. You're impacting thousands of people every month at patients in a chair because of the job that you've chosen to take and what you are able to do. You cannot do that as a solo owner.
Well, the other thing is, as a solo owner though, Tiff, is you make money when you're injecting.
Yeah.
Or when your people are injecting
and
and
you're
you're
a slave to the
managing.
clock in the business. Like you can't do anything with that.
And so, I hear this all the time from trainers. It's like, I make more money at home in my clinic than I do out training. Well, duh. Yeah. I mean, I still feel like we make a pretty good wage training.
Thank God they've improved it since our early years.
Yeah, from the early years of the
it was tragic back then.
Three figures, three-figure income. Now it's better.
It's
But
better.
the thing about it is it takes time away from your clinic, so you almost have to have that secondary source. Where I just love the freedom that I have. I'm freedom. I say freedom and I kind of giggle because I am working. God, it drives my husband crazy. I'm working all the time. He's like, stop working. But I love it. So it doesn't feel like work. Like I talk to providers all the time, new providers that are like, hey, how would I become a provider at SkinSpirit? And I tell them, this is kind of the expectation. And there's some people that I started talking to years ago that have just started with us.
Oh, how fun.
Because they went and they did the things that I had said. And, I'm going to tell you what I would do, right? If I were getting into the business. And so if you go do that, then you're demonstrating that hunger. And that's so key when it's so funny. Justice Stevens said about porn, he said, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Right? And so I can't define hunger, but man, I know it when I see it and I hear it. And so that's just so exciting when that happens. And I see it, I see it when I'm doing private trainings. I see it when I'm out on podium. I see it when I'm talking to people and I'm like, gosh, I really, really want her to work for SkinSpirit someday. And that day comes, or we move into the neighborhood. So if you guys live in a city where SkinSpirit doesn't currently exist, and you've got a pretty good business, but you don't want to be a business owner anymore, call me.
Yeah, just wait. We'll be there soon.
No, we'll be there with you. Like we follow. We really follow talent. Talent is paramount.
Especially in this business that's so high touch and
Yeah.
so. It's a one-to-one. I mean, you have to have great people. But I love the idea, and I think there's a lot of pressure in the market right now that if you are an injector who's good, people are on Instagram saying, if you want to make money in this industry, you have to own your own practice. You have to do it. You have to get your own practice. I don't believe that at all. I think that you can make money as an injector in a clinic somewhere else, have less stress. When COVID came, it wasn't your fault about payroll. It was somebody else's fault.
Right.
And there's so many reasons why. But you are not required in this industry to be an owner to have a wonderful career.
Right.
And there is a misconception about that. I mean, I hear it every day, all the time, that I'm going to go on my own. And I'm like, why? You have a cush job where you get to go home at 6 o'clock and life is grand. You get to go on vacation. You have PTO days. Trust me, at this level, you don't get PTO anymore. Like, that's ludicrous to even think I could go on vacation. Your income is kind of guaranteed. You just go perform and get your money and go home. There's a part of it that is just such a nice relief of not having to be the owner. And by the way, you get to be a great trainer. Your name is known. You're on podiums. You get to publish, do all these great things. on someone else's dime, frankly. I mean, to your point, on someone else's financial risk, not your own.
Yeah.
I'm like, where can I sign up for this job? I want that. Like, can I do that right now? I'll go to nursing school in the morning, George.
There we go. All right. Come on.
But people they're so confused about working for someone else. I'm like, in corporate America, you would never not think about that. Like, I mean, in corporate America, we all work for someone else. That's kind of and you build a great career working for someone else, doing great things. It's just so shocking to hear that we can't get that point across.
But what I hear though, Tiff, is I hear that people I want my autonomy and I want my freedom.
But you don't get as an owner.
And I don't want somebody else telling me what to do. And I want to make my own schedule. And I'm like, what? And you're going to do that in your own business? Like, okay, here's your schedule. It's 24 hours a day. It's 7 days a week. It's 365 days a year. If you have employees, then you have all these personalities. So you don't have freedom because Susie's going to call you because she's got a sick kid at home and you're going to need to come in because you thought you had a day off.
Yeah, kidding.
and so what I can offer then is autonomy, because we do allow people to have some autonomous practice. Our protocols are like really wide. Like we restrict people from doing things that aren't safe, right?
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and so we give people autonomy. We do the best we can with schedule. Like it's like if you've been there for 10 years and you get the schedule that you want, and, you got a full schedule and you can work the princess shift that you want.
You had to earn it, right? You earned it. Yeah, 10 years you should have.
And if you're just coming on and I can't work after 5 and I can't do Saturdays, and it's like, well, this is not for you, or you're not for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so what I want people that are like, look, I'm willing to do anything because I love your brand and I want to be part of that brand. I want to say it's my brand. And I love the SkinSpirit brand. Like come on, Tiffany, I could work anywhere. Right.
But you've been eating, sleeping, living, and breathing SkinSpirit from the minute I met you.
Yeah.
I mean, you were all in 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were in Seattle. I remember you were going back and forth for a while to Texas injecting, Seattle injecting. Who goes across the country multiple times a month for a business that they don't own?
Yeah.
People who love it. I mean, there is a part of it that's...
I commuted in 2018. I started commuting. I did it for a year and a half until COVID hit. Every Monday. I got on a 6 o'clock Delta flight in Austin. And I would land at 9:30, and I would be in clinic by 10:30, and I would work until 9. And I would get up at the next morning. I would work 9 to 9. I was working in a mall, so we had mall hours. And then 9 to 3, and I'd get on a plane and come home on Wednesday. Every week.
But it also got you to where you are now. I mean, those are things you sacrifice. It's like a residency.
This is that key.
You sacrifice a bit for bigger things long term.
Exactly.
But it is funny, the more, even like here with AR, we have 60-ish employees. We have a lot going on, multiple different businesses. I'm the only person here that doesn't control my day because it's all my job, right? So I'm the person who's like PTO, if it gets canceled. Like if things happen, it's like, well, vacation, funny. I haven't taken PTO. But at the end of the day, whatever the business needs, I have to go do it. I don't get to say, I'm taking my lunch break. Yeah. Because if I worked for someone else, I could probably say that. Like I'm protected time from 12 to 1. Here it's like my time is the business's time. And so I think people get confused about it. The more ownership you have in something, the less control you have of your day and your life, because no matter what happens, it's really your fault. I mean, everything is like, in the highs you're great, and in the lows you're there with them. You don't really get a choice. But I think SkinSpirit has done some amazing things. I think the industry, you guys are like a cult. We're a cult here too, and you instantly know if someone fits the business or not because you are kind of such a cult. And we say that here nicely, like David Koresh in Texas. I shouldn't say cult, but we know now, and we do an interview if the person fits the culture or not. Yeah. Because it's so well defined that we say, gosh, they're amazing. They have great skills, but we know who we are, and they're not for us, or we're not for them. Like you said, they're great, and I'll pick up the phone and say, let me call a person I think you'd work well with, and I will refer you over to somebody else.
Exactly.
But this may not be the right home for you based on what your desires are.
Exactly. Like and providers all the time in SkinSpirit and outside of SkinSpirit, if they aren't a good fit, I will help you find another job. It's like I want everyone to be happy with what they're doing. I want them to be fulfilled. That's the way that the patients flourish, is if everybody's happy doing what they're doing, what they want to be doing. And if it's not the right fit, then let's go find the right fit for you.
And happy folks do better at work. I mean, it's proven.
It's proven.
Proven statistics. So if you're happy
there's
at
data.
your job,
There's data to back that one up.
I would love to share it. But I think so. taking that to the bigger industry, because you are obviously out pioneering across the whole industry. We both have a bit of a hot button. These people who do these overnight, I'm a master injector and I'm going to build a training academy. And
I want to be a master injector.
Me too.
Make me
let me.
Please, whoever has that certification, whoever has the ability to dub me a master injector, I really, really want to be that.
Do you remember Danny Shear a few years ago had like the medals you could wear?
Danny and Tom. Oh my God. If you guys
so
want
good.
something funny, go scroll probably a year's worth of scroll in Danny Shear's Instagram, and her and Tom with the big master.
We actually filmed that video. My people, we were at a show, Modern Beauty Con. You were there too.
I was there,
and we were filming it, and my team was like, "What in the hell are we watching?" And it was just brilliant.
Oh my
brilliant.
God! Yeah.
But it makes fun of what is very much a norm now, and I don't know where it comes from.
Industry's making it a norm too, shame on these master injector series. I'm sorry, I know my number, so you can call me and we can have a discussion about it.
What makes it a master injector? I don't know.
What makes it a master injector series? What makes someone believe that they are a master injector after a weekend course? It's like it sets people up for failure. It sets people up for a fall. It puts people up on a pedestal that they don't deserve to be on. The only person that can use master injector is Bernice Cohen, because that's her Instagram handle.
Yeah, and it was a business decision.
It was a business decision, yes.
And you look at, again, if we want to be a medical specialty, which I think we all really want that, you don't have a master cardiologist. You don't have a master ED physician. You don't have a master urologist. They don't use the word master. So if you say you want to be something, then go be it. You can't have two different worlds that you live in, and we don't coin anyone else in the medical sort of arena as a master. Don't freaking do it here.
Yeah.
But how do we help the industry to stop doing it? Because I do think, as you look at a SkinSpirit, for instance, kind of like the one person who's bad affects all locations. One person who's bad in the market affects everyone in the market, because they all spend time cleaning up messes and dissolving and trying to clean their reputation up for injectors. How do we get people to really understand that training has to be done by someone who is competent and great at their job and a great trainer, and to stop using this BS term that I think confuses patients, because now they're using this yardstick that isn't even a real yardstick to say whether they're like, well, George isn't a master. According to whom? George is like the oldest, you're the OG around here. Yeah. But they will say that you're not because you're not the master injector.
Yeah, because it doesn't say it on my Instagram.
Exactly. How do we stop this madness? Well, and I know standards, yes.
This is how we do it right here. This conversation is how it happens. It's like, I don't say it, none of the OGs call themselves master injectors. And I'm going to put it out there. I don't think there's any providers at SkinSpirit that refer to themselves as master injectors. And if there are, we need to talk about it. But no, I just want to know, I'm interviewing somebody and it says master injector on their resume. I love those interviews.
Let me tell you why you're not one.
No. I'm like, hey, tell me what makes you a master injector. Tell me why that title. Explain it to me. And then, I share my opinion.
Well, it's the same when people say, oh, I'm certified in Botox. I think it's my obligation to tell them that that's not really. I will tell somebody they don't ask. I'm like, hey, just want to let you know, don't share that, because that's not a thing. You're not certified. I feel like it's my obligation as a person.
You got a certificate
of completion
when you went to a course in Botox. And good on you for going to a course on Botox.
But you're not certified to do anything.
No.
That means
I am a certified aesthetic nurse specialist.
Which is why we have cans, because there is
Yes.
a yardstick now that we can measure with. Yeah. But I tell people that I meet that ask me, because people in your DMs all the time, I'm sure you have this. Oh, yeah. I need to get this done. Who should I go see? Who do you know? I'm like, so-and-so is certified. So-and-so is not certified unless it says cans, or unless they are board certified by some other board.
Yeah.
They ain't certified, George. They're just not certified. Yeah. They have completed a course. And we've done such a great job about not self-injecting online. When people started doing all this stuff.
Do you remember how I would get on those? Oh my God!
And everyone shared. They all shared their disdain. People stopped doing it.
Yeah.
We need the same almost embarrassment of, if you do this, it's bad. To get this to stop also.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I won't call him out on here, but there was a plastic surgeon that was doing his own Botox on. And you guys know when I say Botox, I mean neuromodulator. So I'm sorry.
We all do it. Even me.
Let's not be branded. But
I sold this for it. I'll still say it.
So he was doing his own injections of of a neuromodulator, and I DM'd him privately, and I said, I'm really interested in your thought process there. I said, I know that you're a board certified plastic surgeon. Would you do plastic surgery on yourself? He goes, no, that would be ridiculous. I said, yes, it is ridiculous to do treatments on yourself. Well, we haven't spoken since, but it's all right.
But if you live in a community with great injectors, wouldn't it be an awesome opportunity to showcase this collaboration, to say, let me go to my friend George across town,
Right.
who I love, and let him do it? Also, because his hands looking at me are better than my hand. I can't even put on my own necklace in the mirror, because it's like all backwards. I can't imagine trying to look in the mirror and inject myself.
Don't even judge my lips. My lips are like so deflated right now. Julie Horn did my lips 4 years ago in Sweden when Kiss, right before the Kiss launch, and I'm waiting until I can see her again. Because
dear Julie, if you're listening,
yeah, no, she knows. Believe me,
I'm sure she knows.
We're figuring out a way to get her over here, and I'm going to be her model. But it's like I'm sure there are thousands of injectors out there that would do a beautiful job with my lips. But she did a great job, and I liked her touch, and and it was a conservative touch, and that's who I want to go to. And if I have to fly over to Sweden to do it, I will.
It's a write-off. It's a training, surely.
Yeah.
I
got to figure out how to get some industry to pay for that.
Somebody will. They will. Well, and that's the other part. You get to do all these fun things with industry. You get to go travel, do advisory, roles, be a consultant. If you want to sit at the table and you want to be part of the decisions being made for the industry, you got to get yourself in there somehow. Yeah. And that comes from doing ethical things, being ethical in how you operate, but also not doing all these fads and trends and wacky stuff, being a great on-podium speaker, a great injector. There's just things you kind of have to do, to your point about earning it. And then once you get to that level, you get to have Julie Horn to your lips because you're in Sweden for an event.
Yeah. And I was in Sweden with Gen Now, the Gen Now faculty, and we were doing the KISS launch, and that's where Get Your Gain Face On came from.
Which we love the hashtag.
Yeah. I jumped onto the bus one day and I said, okay, everybody get your game face on. I was like, wait, get your gain face on. And it stuck, and like, it's been on the side of buses now.
Yeah.
It's like, that's
you just received an award recently that also had a really fun name.
Yeah.
Tell me what it was again.
A give to gain.
Yeah, give to gain.
Give to gain. And
it's like a Lifetime Achievement Award, but for gain.
Yeah. And I'm going to get them. You guys know I'm a crier, so forgive me if I cry. I know there's a camera here, so but no, I get really emotional about that. You and then Carrie Galpin I'm really connected with you guys. Like Galderma Aesthetic Injector Network has really elevated training, and AMI does a fantastic job too. I'm an AMI trainer, but for years now, for 10 years, I've been a gain trainer and just watched the industry get better because our medical specialty get better because of industry, and industry really taking a role in okay, what can we do to help you lift this? Like they're helping us lift the Volkswagen, right? And when I can be a part of that, that's like, it's an honor. And then to get an award like that is just like, oh my God. It was so funny because Carrie and I are dear friends, and we went to Target and we were buying some stuff, and she goes, oh, I need a frame. And I said, oh, I'll go get it. So I went and I picked out a frame. Turns out I picked out a frame for my own award.
I love it.
Oh my God. God bless her.
You also, I think our ISPAN has a similar thing, like a founder's award of some sort.
Fellowship award.
Fellows.
And I was the 18th person inducted into the fellowship there at ISPAN. So
I hope you have like a trophy case at home with all these awards collected everywhere.
Yeah, I have my little pride wall in my office, and they go on my shelf. And it's like I have those letters after my name. I have cans after my name. I have ISPAN fellow after my name. I am proud of it. But it's like the master injector thing. Like the expertise has to come through. It has to come through in your actions and your words. It can't be just a piece of paper on a wall and an award on your trophy case. Really you have to earn it, and then you have to continue to earn it.
And you have to want the good of the whole industry in your heart of hearts. I think that's the other part too, is if you're going to have all these letters behind your name, you're going to be a fellow, you're going to be a lifetime achiever, you have to want what's best for everyone, despite your own desires. I mean, there's things that I'm like, that person is like a real hill to deal with, but they have what I need to make the world better.
Right.
I think you have to kind of put aside some of your personal feelings sometimes, because you are kind of you're like a kid of the world, a child of the world. You don't get to choose, because in game, you can be put in front of any audience.
Yeah.
You can be put anywhere at any point. Carrie's like, George, I need you. You're going to go.
Yeah.
And
I'm actually doing a whole lead mentor training tomorrow with Gain. So I'm really
and
excited
you can have a
about
person that you're like, you know what? I don't know that I love them as a person, but they're a great trainer. It's even like here, people who we employ, like I may not love them as a human, like I don't love what they're about, but they're a great, employee, whatever their job is here. And you have to be okay with that. Like your ego can't really fit sometimes in this little box. You've got to kind of push it aside and do what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, as long as, and here we are, election season,
Yeah, what a great time to discuss this.
Right.
Good Lord.
And, we're not going to talk politics here because it's not that forum.
It's so dramatic.
But here's the thing. We could. You and I could have an honest conversation about politics, and we might even disagree. And we would still have that conversation, and we would still go out to coffee, and that's what collaboration over competition, to me, that's what that phrase says, is it's like, I don't need to be the them to your us, I can just we can be all in this together and have different perspectives. Everybody's entitled to their wrong opinion.
And we should encourage discourse. We should encourage people to talk about it. I was just talking with Jared Rohr, who I know that you know as well.
Oh my God,
about
love Jared.
Our panel that we did at Sec Next about just like industry standards.
Yep.
And Subio gets up and does Subio things of like everything's crazy, and you and Erica are on the panel, and you're having really good, not with each other so much, but with the industry. Like, here are things that we think are really wrong that we need to fix.
Yeah.
We don't do it enough. We don't sit in a panel enough and say, I disagree with you and here's why.
Yeah.
Let's discuss my thought, your thought. It's healthy. I mean, everywhere you go, people want to disagree to learn. Like, I want to hear what you have to say because I want to learn from you. Like, why am I wrong?
You know what's really funny? I did that panel. Thank you for that panel, by the way.
It was great.
I did that panel with Christian Subio, who I no longer follow on Instagram because I don't want to. And I don't like that Christian. I loved the Christian that I was on stage with. And I told him that. Like, I really enjoyed the panel. I enjoyed the one-on-one time with him. But and that's fine. That's, that's his prerogative. And I love him for doing it. I don't resonate with it. So, and you know what? He probably doesn't resonate with me.
But it's okay when you're together. You're nice to each other. You had a great conversation.
We did, and we respected each other. And that's the thing, was we respected each other. And probably, if I would lived in New York, Philly. If I lived in Philly, we'd probably be friends. Mm-hmm. And see, that's the thing, is it's like we get into this we get these personas that sometimes aren't the real us, right? And going back to my history and my book, it's like I spent so much of my life as a chameleon. I was whatever I thought you needed me to be, so I would get what I wanted. It was a very usury way to be. That the whole drug culture is all about get. And so when I got clean, and I've been clean now for 24 years, so this has been like it's not a battle, but it's a constant focus of my life. I want this George to be the same as that George, right? And I really want the integrity of that persona to be resonant, so that people can go onto my Instagram, see the goofy stuff that I do, see the fact that I am a banana dad right now. I just hatched my first bloom of bananas, and I'm so goofy and excited about that. And I don't even like bananas. I don't like the way they taste, but this banana blossom is so precious. I'll show you pictures later.
Well, you have two King Charles Cavalier dogs that are precious.
Minnie Pearl had to go to the doctor today.
Well, you have is it Dolly Mama?
The Dolly Mama,
and then Minnie Pearl.
And my husband Travis.
And Travis, you guys are in Austin. So that's the other part of it, is you also have a life. And I think people forget that the George or the Scipio you see on stage, I mean, he has 2 beautiful children.
Yeah,
He's have one more on the way, a wife.
Yeah, he's
There
amazing.
is a whole person there.
Yeah.
And so I think we are quick to judgment. I mean, obviously, people will come to me and say, I thought you were going to be not very nice, which I think is shocking. I'm very, very nice. Or I'd be taller. Usually they think I'll be taller because I have a huge face.
You've got BD energy.
I do. I've got tall girl.
You've got tall girl.
5'3" of tall
You
girl
got
vibes.
tall girl energy.
But even I've suffered from that. People are like, oh, I thought you were going to be not very nice. Why would you think that? Or that George is going to be such a big deal that I can't get near him.
Yeah.
And people they kind of dream this in their head. It's like, no.
No,
Like,
just come up, tap me on the shoulder. Let's have a
Yeah.
conversation.
and I think even with Scipio, they think he's going to be really cranky and mean. He's like the nicest
He's
person
so
ever.
nice.
So
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So I do think that there's a part of it where your brand.
Call
what
me
you mentioned
Christian.
about-
Let's have a conversation.
Let's all hang out. About the chameleon part, as you get more and more, is the word famous? I don't know, in this industry.
I don't know. It's like I hear that all the time. You're so famous. You're like a rock star. It's like, yeah, in here.
Yeah, in our
I
little pond.
walk out that door and like no one will know who I am.
But the good thing is you can always be you. I think knowing who you should be at what day, I'd be so confused. Like, wait, today am I this guy or this guy? I think there's a part of it as you're looking at everything else you have to do in your life that you just got to be. I think being authentic as well for your audience is important. For people who want to fall in love with you, they want to fall in love with the real you and not find out they were sort of snowballed. They've
Hoodwinked,
been
yeah,
had. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's how you create a lot of bad juju. And I think we have enough bad juju in our industry right now with all these kind of things happening that we need to get back to basics.
Yep.
Be a good human, do good things. And what's next for you? Because here's what I want to know as we kind of wrap this up.
Okay.
At some point, George, you're going to retire.
Yeah.
Probably when you're dead, let's be honest. But
Okay,
at
7 years.
some
That's
point-
what I told Lynn Hubline the other day. I sent her an Outlook.
got the
I sent
countdown.
no, I
Like,
sent her
oh,
an
God.
Outlook calendar invite. February 28th, 2031, and for 7 years from now, we'll see if that happens.
Well, in those 7 years, thinking about all of you in that sort of OG group, Connie, you, Jill, at some point you will all kind of, you won't be doing this at such an intense level forever. Who comes next? Because you guys have been sort of the backbone for so long. We have an amazing group, multiple tiers, people who are behind you, coming up, but it feels different. How do we change? How do we prepare for all of you going off to the sunset?
So there's a natural process of, for lack of a better word, maturity that happens. Of I've got to exceed and achieve and see new patients and me, kind of the me, and then you start to like give back, and then you start to teach how to give back, right? And so I'm at the phase now where I'm teaching how to give back, and then pretty soon I'm going to sunset and retire. Right, I'm okay with that. I'm like totally okay with retirement.
but
I'll
you'll
probably
still
be
be
busier.
working.
I'll probably be busier when I retire because I already have.
Bananas.
I finally will be able to do my Patreon account that everybody tells me I need to do, and I'll be able to like write some more books and things like that. But there are people that are the Amy Burkes of the world and
Brittany
the
Crosdales, yeah.
Shelby Millers and the Brittany Crosdales. And if I didn't mention your name, I love you, and and Jen and Allie that do cult aesthetics.
Oh,
And
love them.
it's like there are these individuals that are at that point where they're trainers and they're giving back as trainers, and they're moving slowly into Natalia is another one. And, they're moving into that teaching how to give, like, instead of teaching how to do. And it's really fun to watch. It's really fun to watch. It's Shelby, we were in this lead mentor group with Gain, and she said, George taught me how to do cannulas. It was like,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah, it's just that kind of stuff is like, and she's phenomenal. She's got
a
this
great injector.
amazing company of Ruma, and I see these people. I'm just so proud of them. I'm so proud to watch and watch people grow. Not that like maybe I had a little bit to do with, who knows? It's not about me. Like, and that's the thing that the Connies and the Dons and the Haleys and the Hermines and the Georges and the Lovelies, it's not about us. It's about the medical specialty that we hatched, that we continue to nurture and grow. And, at some point, you guys got to do it. Right?
We want to be out.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell one funny story. I think about cannula. When we launched cannula for the cheek many years ago, no one was doing it yet.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in a room and being like drawing out this 90-degree angle, where to put the points, and being like, George, Hermine, what do you guys think? And so we literally sat in a room for the first ever indication and said, how should we teach people how to inject?
Yeah.
And knowing good and well that that was not the best technique forever, but it was a technique for right now because no one
Do you
knew
know
better.
I still use those points? Those are still my cannula entry points.
And they're still great points,
They are
but it's
great
one of those
points,
things
yeah.
but we also evolve.
Yeah.
At that point, no one did it at all, and you
Yeah.
had to start somewhere. And then, as you mentioned, learning anatomy, learning all these pieces of the puzzle, you get better. You can take more risks because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You can start to try different things. But when you start, sometimes that sort of having the map is really helpful.
It was so funny. My first entry point, I would take the lateral canthus and the medial canthus, and I'd go like this, and that would be my point. You know, that's right at the end of the transverse facial artery. And more times than not, I would hit it.
Well, George, we all learned.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's right now the temple injection technique. Our friend's allergy, and I'm a little concerned about some of that. But
I'm not.
You're not?
I'm not.
Okay.
I went through the train the trainer. So here's what I'll say about that, because I think that's really important. Because temples are a new indication, and when jawline came out, everybody had everybody had a man jaw because people weren't doing it right. But
and teardrop, and same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
We're all nervous.
And but the temple, Allergan has really simplified the temple injection for the masses, and they've done a very good job with it. Would that be the way I would inject in my practice? Probably not. But then I'm a little bit more of an advanced injector.
But again, you have to start. You have to start. People who've never done it before have to start somewhere that is simple to learn.
And would it provide a complete temple solution? No, it doesn't. It gets you started, especially if you're super hollow. It gets the process started, but they're teaching it in a safer way. The anatomy makes sense. Sebastian Codafana did these beautiful dissections of the temple layers, and I really feel like they're doing the best they can with what they have, and it's an opportunity for the masses to start being not so scared about the temple and to kind of go for it.
And we will never all agree. No matter what technique you put forth, there will always be a naysayer who says, "Oh, that's not the way I would do it." Well, obviously, we're all going to do it a little bit, in all things in life, a little bit different, but you have to start from something. You have to start from the GK points. You got to start from somewhere.
Exactly.
So that people know, if you know nothing, this is something, and it's a safe something. And then from that point, you start to learn, evolve, and grow, and you do different things.
That's what people don't understand, too. The people that are like poo-pooing the Allergan map for the temple, they're forgetting that it has to be reproducible for the study. Yeah. Not one of you injects the points for Botox in the forehead. I'll tell you that, because there were 5 of them. 5 10-unit. No, there were 5 2-unit injections, right? No, there was 20. There was 5 4-unit injections.
Yeah,
4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Nobody does that.
It's a mix and match. You do your own little combination.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but I think scalable, and also that you have to have all these trainers who are going out now teaching in clinics injectors, and you have to control that from the FDA perspective. You have to control what's being taught, and you have to put a lid on it. And you can't say, whatever you think is best, George, go teach that. It doesn't work that way. It has to be whatever we've, as a consensus, has said is best.
Yeah.
And that's, once you get to that level and you start consulting at that level, you have a much different understanding of how this has to work, and it changes your perspective on training the masses.
You have to know what the rules are to break the rules.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is not always fun, compliance-wise. But okay, as we kind of finish up here, what's next for you? What can we look forward to coming soon for Dr. George?
Gosh, I am committed to I'm committed to self-care. That's next year is going to be a big commitment to self-care. I really think that it's important. When I'm in my golden years, which I'm not that far away either. So, but when I'm in my golden years, I'm not going to remember how much I worked. I'm going to remember the time I spent with Travis and my bananas, and it's like I'm going to remember the trips that I've taken and stuff like that. So, I want to speak this out loud so that I can focus on it too, and remind myself on a daily basis this next year about that. But I love what I do with SkinSpirit. I'm recruiting is now underneath me as the vice president of talent development. And Crystal Durnan is the
her wedding. Oh my
God, it was so over the top.
So good.
Yeah, but she's in charge of the recruiting at SkinSpirit, and we're a great team. SkinSpirit's going to have more growth this next year. We've got some really fun, exciting clinics planned. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. And so it's really exciting. We have some really great plans over the next few years as well. What's next for me? I'll let that unfold. I'm really satisfied where I am, really happy with where I am. Could I be happier? We could always be happier, right?
We could always be richer and have
our
own island somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And so if somebody wants to give me an island,
call me first.
I'm down. But yeah, so I want to continue to do great trainings. I want to really push the envelope on seeing the patients as holistic patients and stepping away from the lines and really understanding, what we're doing in a regenerative way and a holistic way. And so that's what I've been really focused on.
And putting those standards together. I think we need a big voice to push us all down the path, like get this thing done.
Yeah. And I like with that, Tiff, I am not about making somebody do something that they don't want to do or shouldn't do. I want to get people to the point where they want to do that, where they want to have enough standardization that we have a safe medical industry, and that our specialty is looked at and regarded with awe and with respect, because our specialty is still not regarded that way.
And it's so young in many ways.
Oh yeah.
We have to. You mentioned maturity before. I think we've got to mature as an industry a bit first.
Yeah.
And it's funny, if you ask people if they want that, they all will say yes. And so I'm curious to see when that day comes, if those who said, oh, yes, we need this, will actually be the ones standing in line saying, guys, let's get on board. Let's get this done. Because there will be a place where it's like all things that you hoped and dreamed of can't be in that list. We can't apply to everyone's hopes, dreams, and desires. There has to be a standard that means I give up some, you give up some, we all give up a little bit here and there, but it's for the good of the industry. But I think somebody somewhere, there's a person who is waiting for this to happen to say, I want to become an aesthetic injector, but I feel like it's the Wild Wild West. Think of people who are on the sidelines waiting to come into our world saying, I don't feel like it's safe enough yet or good enough. Yeah. I want to get those people who have talent to come into the world and be part of what we do here. But I think there is a place where we got to get some rules, some guardrails. You're the guy, George. You're the guy. I agree. In your golden years, that's
in my golden years. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming
on. I'm like a year and a half away from 60.
Well, but you can't tell.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you look young, then you can stay young.
I got good injectors. What can I say?
And we both have our new teeth.
Yeah.
Well,
yes, thank God.
Another one that new, but
Mine are new, and Tejas Patel in Austin, he's fantastic.
I just got a new set.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a bleph. You've inspired me to have a bleph.
I had a bleph. Yeah.
So at least you're looking fabulous. You're looking fire to be.
I don't know what the next nip and tuck is, but it probably is lower face or neck or something. But you know what? That's for me. That's growing old gracefully. That's part of grace.
And it's all done tastefully.
It's like, and I'm not hiding it. This is not olive oil, people. This is not olive oil.
Baby oil either.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave that for a different episode. But
thank you
for coming on. And as a season finale, I was like, you have to be the person. You have to end the season because you're just
I'm honored.
Bigger than life in so many ways.
So honored. Thank you.
Well, we'll see you guys for season 6 coming soon. But what a wonderful 20 episodes we've had. Amazing guests. And, of course, our crown jewel to end it all, Dr. George Baxter-Holder. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to another episode of For the Record. This podcast is not intended to provide legal or medical advice. It's for entertainment, education, and information purposes only. For more information on this week's guest or to get started with Aesthetic Record, email us at info@aestheticrecord.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more fresh perspectives on disrupting the status quo and surviving in the aesthetics industry.